right and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
In this episode we look back on a long journey down to Gloucestershire and back with no points to show for it, as tabletoppers FGR show the Blues why they're running away with this season, and as a preview of the upcoming games against Sutton United and Salford City. 12-time lucky, Dan.
Fitted in just nicely there, because what the listeners won't realise is we've had to do the start about 85 times because we've got gremlins tonight, but they seem to have gone. So
They do seem to have gone, yeah. Just a little bit of a disappointing one this weekend for us, wasn't it? A nice little journey down.
Lovely drive down. Gloucester Services is always a bonus, with being the southern version of T-Bay, but
the game, not as great as we do, but as you said on the day, it was a free hit, but we'll cover that shortly because we'll get onto the review section. But first up, Dan, let's get into the news, and there's quite a bit to cover this week, actually. Typical as always, a lot of it broke last week after we recorded, so we're covering it now, a little bit behind the curve in that sense. But first up, it's some loan moves that have been confirmed. So after Taylor Charter's temporary move to Gator, which is going really well by things, a couple of weeks ago, it's been another busy week of outgoing to Brunton Park as 3 more players have departed the club in loan deals. First up, striker Tristan Abrahams. He's dropped down to National League level to join Grimsby Town on a loan deal until the end of the season. The 23-year-old attacker has found game time, I think it's fair to say, quite limited in the last few months, and he's struggled to pin down a starting place as well, hasn't he? And he signed on a 2-year deal in the summer, and it's not looking a great deal at the moment. I mean, he's 3 goals in 20 games for someone who's, I wouldn't say your marquee signing. I'd say he's one of your key signs in the summer. It's not a great return. He's played twice for the Mariners so far, and he's failed to find the net in either game. 2 tough games, I think, to start. Well, Bromley shouldn't be as tough, but Wrexham was a tough game.
Bromley are quite up there, to be fair.
Yeah.
Decent team. Byron Webster running the show at the back for them.
Exactly. Not a massive surprise to see him go out on loan, Dan. A good move for him and for us, really, isn't it?
It came from nowhere, I mean, I'd say probably 95% of Carlisle fans would have been happy to see him depart. All of a sudden there was a whisper that Grimsby were interested, and a couple of hours later it was announced. So, best of luck to him. I mean, I think he'll move on in the summer. Yeah. I don't think Millen's taken to him. He's not really impressed. He started all right, but he's done nothing, has he?
I mean, in pre-season he linked up very well with Clough, but he was playing against a very low standard of opposition for most of those games. Yeah. And that's the problem, isn't it? When you do that, and then you step up to the league level and you can't quite do it. There's an issue there, isn't there? And like you said, I won't be surprised to see him move on in the summer. I saw the Grimsby fans getting very excited about signing him. I didn't know whether to dampen their expectations or not, really. But good luck to the lad. He's, fair play to him for wanting to go out and actually play football. He could have just stayed and collect his wage, but wants to get games, doesn't he? So on to the other two. So Keith Millen sort of promised in recent weeks that he would be looking to get game time for the younger members of the first team squad, and 2 more fringe players have followed Charters out on loan to non-league sides. So first up, Lewis Bell. He's joined Northern Premier League Division... It's a mouthful, this one. Northern Premier League Premier Division side. They could think of a better name for it than that, couldn't they? Ridiculous. Warrington Town on an initial 1-month loan deal. He's found it quite difficult to get into the first team squad for a lot of the campaign, hasn't he? Started that League Cup game with Sheffield United, but he's not really featured that much, has he?
Yeah, he's... it was sort of said last year that Bell was one who really suffered with COVID. It dragged on a bit. I think he had a bit of long COVID, etc. And I don't want to be harsh on the lad, because I really hope he comes through. But given that we were allegedly hawking him round for $750,000, I would expect a player in that bracket to be playing for us.
I think he needs to toughen up. I think that's the one thing that stands out for him when he comes in. He doesn't look particularly strong. So going somewhere like Warrington, and actually going somewhere away from Cumbria might not be a bad thing for him, rather than just going to like working somewhere where he might feel a bit comfortable. Take him out of his comfort zone, go away, play a bit of football, and see what he can do. And he's going to a side that's doing well as well. They're in, I think, the 7th position in their division, challenging for a playoff place. He was
David
unused
Graven's in the scene now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's assistant manager there. He was an unused sub last weekend in their 2-1 home defeat to fellow promotion chasers and big spenders, I think it's fair to say, South Shields. They just appointed Kevin Phillips as manager, haven't they?
Yeah.
Did you see his haircut?
Yeah.
That's not a haircut for a man in his 40s, is it?
No.
I think it's fair to say. But yeah,
I think he's possibly had a transplant, never mind
I
haircut.
think it's fair to say, yes. I think that's a fair assumption. So yeah, it's the division just above Workington, and it's a good opportunity for him, isn't it? Hopefully he'll get a bit of game time. He's still got another year left in his contract for next season, hasn't he? So
And an option as well, I think. So.
exactly. So they must have seen something in him at some point. So you'd hope that maybe he'll help him
Getting hacked down the line in some of the Yorkshire and Lancashire venues will do him the world of good.
Absolutely. And finally, Josh Dixon. He's made the move down the A595 on a 1-month loan deal to Workington Reds. He's had rotten luck, hasn't he, in the last few seasons with injuries. Every time he seems to get fit, he gets another one. And I think he's been fit for a while now, but obviously there's other players who've got a bit more experience and a bit more toughened up ahead of him.
I think as well, what Millen alluded to was, yes, we could probably send him on loan to a Gateshead or a National League North type team, but they won't want to take the gamble based on his fitness record.
Millen's comments are really, really interesting on this one.
Whereas Workington, we could sort of say, look, we'll loan him, but he's got to play. He really has to play.
Because, I mean, we'll be paying his wages. They won't be paying a single penny. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, like you said, his comments were very interesting, Millen, because he basically said, didn't he, the lad's got all the talent you could imagine, didn't he? Basically said he's a really talented lad. But at the moment, I can't trust to play him and know he's going to be fit for games. So I need him to go out and play. He needs to go and play 7 or 8 games in a row consistently, and you can. And he'll, if he stays fit, he'll dominate that division comfortably. We saw it.
I'd love nothing more than our midfield next season to be, say, Guy, Dixon, and Charters. It'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll have to see.
But he's got to show his fitness, hasn't he? And to be fair, it's a good time to be going to Reds. They're flying at the top of the Northern Premier League Division 1 West. 59 points and 25 games.
I wonder if he'll walk straight in the team or if it'll be more half an hour from the bench for a couple of games to begin. Possibly,
or maybe give him 60 minutes.
If you play for Reds and you're winning every week, you'd be a bit.
I think the thing is as well, they've been, as you'd expect at that level, players often come in and drop into the team and players play out of position and stuff like that. Yeah. So essentially, it's a chance for him to go there and play a bit of football. I mean, like I said, they've won the last 7 fixtures in the league in a row, and they've not been beaten in 11 games. I think the last game they lost was Runcorn Linnets in the end of October. So, you're going into a side that's flying. He should be able to go there and enjoy his football, I think it's fair to say. So, good luck to Josh, good luck to Lewis, and good luck to Tristan as well on their loan spells. And as we said there before, it sounds like Taylor Charters is doing brilliantly. He was at 4 wins in a row since he went there.
You're flying, Gateshead.
Excellent stuff.
Kedwin Scott bagging them in, if only being given a chance.
Yeah. Although he's not in the X-Files this week, is he?
No.
This weekend. Okay, well, let's move on to an incoming then, Dan. This is one that caught us all a bit by surprise, wasn't it? It wasn't one we expected. Earlier this week, United announced the latest addition to the January transfer window, and
our third number 6 of the season by the look of an interview today with him.
That's incredible, isn't it? I don't think anyone expected a defender to be the next player coming in, did they? Especially the form we've been in recently, but yeah.
No, but we do need a defender, is what I will say.
We do, yeah. I think a lot of people expected a covering defender, someone to be on the bench. I don't think this lad's going to be on the bench based on what we've read on him.
No.
It's Southampton's England Youth International centre-back, Dinel Simeo. He has joined the Blues on a loan deal to the end of the season, and if Keith Millen's rather love-struck words on the official website even to go by, it might be a bit of a coup, mightn't it? Because he's basically said he was my number 1 target over any other player, and we've managed to get him.
Yeah.
1 second.
He's what? Sorry.
The cat wants to get out. 1 second.
We're keeping this one in, just for the listeners. It is now and again where we cut out where we get interrupted by events in our houses. But Lee's cat, we might even pop a picture up that he sent us on the Twitter.
Right, I'm back now. The cat is out.
Happy days. I was just telling the listeners we'll pop that picture up you sent us on WhatsApp of the cat at some point.
Indeed, I will do. Yeah, where was I? I can't remember what I was now. Yeah, but yeah,
Simmal.
Yeah, he seemed to be really. The way he's talking about him, he was, gushing's probably over the top word for it, but he was really pleased, wasn't he, to get him in?
I'll tell you something, he looks a unit as well, doesn't he?
Well, this is the thing. When we signed Dinzey, he looked tall.
Dinzey
and
looked rangy, didn't he?
He looked rangy, but he didn't look like. I didn't feel like he's going to be imposing. When you saw him up against Jamil Matt, for instance, you thought Jamil Matt's going to bully him all afternoon, and he did.
Yeah.
I think at first 20 minutes he was okay, but as soon as he got to grips with him, he basically tore him apart that day. Whereas Simiyu looks a big. I mean, alongside Keith Millen's not small. He must be 6 foot 2, 6 foot 3, and he looks bigger than him. So that's pleasing to see. So yeah, the 19-year-old, he joined the Saints from Chelsea last summer. I think he started out at Southampton at a very young age before he went to Chelsea, didn't he?
I think he went for about 1.5 million, didn't he?
1.5 million is what the reported fee, wasn't it? So he's mostly featured for the under 23s at St Mary's, but at Stamford Bridge he was captain of their under 23s, wasn't he, for a lot of last season in the Premier League too? And
that's young.
Yeah. And he was also on the bench for a few first team games, wasn't he? As well, I seem to remember for games against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, I think it was, and someone else, I think the Premier League game possibly. So yeah, really exciting young Cameroon-born defender. I think would you reckon he's the third or fourth player from Cameroon to play?
Yeah, because we've had Jean-Claude Pagal, obviously, the wonder, the one-game wonder. And people don't realise Vincent Pericard was born in Cameroon.
I have a feeling there's one other, but I can't remember who. Off the top of my head, I've been trying to work it out, but I'm sure it'll come to me at some point. But we'll move on. Yeah, the one little bit of concern about this loan move is something I noticed. There's a Saints journo was tweeting saying that he seems to be suggesting the reason why we've managed to get him is that we've basically guaranteed him game time. And I know he's probably going to be a quality defender, probably better than any defender we've got, but I'd rather players have to fight for their place in the team than be guaranteed they were going to start games. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be brilliant, and we'll be like, well, there's no worries, he's going to start every game anyway. But yeah, it's one of those ones. I generally prefer it that the defender has to actually work for their place, but maybe that's me. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned in that sense. But there you go. One little bit more of news. Well, actually, two little bits of news. First up, second-year YTS, Jack Ellis. He's agreed a 2-year professional deal that will start in July on the completion of his YTS after impressing Keith Millen in first-team training this season. Kendall-born defender. He's played across the back line. He's captained the under-18s this season and seems to have done really well, doesn't he? And there seems to be suggesting he's had a bit of a growth spurt over the last few months, and that's really helped him as well. Yeah.
I think we discussed a few when the Youth Cup was on about possibles for making the step up, and I think we sort of both agreed that Ellis was one that could just do that.
Well, it was noticeable when the club puts up training pics from the training during the week on Instagram and on Twitter and stuff like that. You'd always saw him in there training with the first team, which made you think, if he's been doing it for this long, the chances are he's going to get a pro deal, isn't he? Especially can play across the back four as well, which really helps. But the interesting point as well there is that Millen has basically said we're going to assess how strong the first team squad is, and then potentially we'll send him out on loan somewhere for a few months, because he's basically said he's ready for men's football now. He's outgrown youth team level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one thing I actually have to say before we go on to the last item, Dan, that really has impressed me about Millen actually, is that he's straight away recognised these young lads, there's no use them being here just training with us during the week and not playing any football on a Saturday. They need to go out there and they need to play football.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
whatever level.
Like say someone like Ellis, who he's obviously coasting through games in the
youth level.
in the youth games, and we don't really have reserve football, so I'd rather he went to a Lancaster or a Gateshead and played a few games and
I mean, there's some talk as well, didn't we say the other day somewhere about Gabe Breeze might be off to a non-league side as well. Was it Lancaster possibly mentioned, I think? So
yeah, North East teams were mentioned, I think, possibly Blythe or someone. Who, of course, it was Blythe had Mark Gillespie from us at one point.
They did, yeah. They've got Alex Mitchell these days, haven't they? I think I seem to remember, yeah. But no, fantastic news for him. And like I said, it's great to see that Millen recognises the need for them to to actually play men's football instead of just being sitting in the stand on a match day. Finally, Dan, before we do the match review section on the Forest Green game, let's have a little update on the Unita 40 announcement. Obviously, last week we made the announcement, didn't we? It's all gone pretty well so far in terms of getting people to join Kiosk.
Fantastic response. We need to sort of tally up those who have told us have joined. Kiosk themselves have said over 100. That could be 101, it could be 150, it could be 199. No idea. We know people are still joining this week. I've had one or two messages myself. I know you have and whatnot. And yeah, I was sort of the socials, nearly 600 following on Facebook and Twitter. Some excellent coverage on Radio Cumbria and from John Coleman at the News and Star. So thank you to those outlets for that. We've got 5,000 leaflets being made right now, aren't there?
Yeah.
Because we've got Salford and Rochdale away next week, which are good followings, and we'll be handing them out before. What's the game on the 19th? Swindon.
Yeah, Port Vale home game as well.
Port Vale on the Tuesday night. Swindon.
I'm sure we'll get someone who's going to Colchester to hand if you're out there as well.
Yeah, and we're also doing just sort of an informal meet and greet on Saturday at 1:30 at the rugby club. It's not a official meeting, notes and all that sort of thing. It's just come and meet. There's 12 of us. I think there's going to be about 9 or 10 of us in attendance from.
Yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few. Yeah,
there's going to be most of us there. I mean, I'm working till just before 2, so I'll be one of the later arrivals. Unfortunately, can't be helped. But just come and see us in the rugby club and just have a chat and tell us what you think about it. Or
I'll put a picture. Go on, sorry, Dan.
Yeah, sorry, no. If you're thinking, is this for me or not? Come and see us. 10 minutes. You don't have to stay an hour or 5 minutes. Ask questions. Tell us what you think about the trust, and let's get more and more folk in so that when we do, have AGMs and that, there's a proper vote on things and people are, answerable to their actions and,
Absolutely.
When the trust have big decisions to make, they should be coming to the membership, and the bigger the active membership, the more they'll have to do that. And at the end of the day, it's your trust that have a share in our club. So join up, get involved. If you've got any skills, offer them,
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, what I'll do is I'll put a picture up on my social media on the Brunton Bugle and Unity 40 one as well of us in the rugby club together, so you can see who we are and you can come and talk to any of us if you want, you see, and that might be the best way of finding us. And like I said, we just want to chat with people about what their thoughts are on the trust, and we might find out some interesting things. We've all got differing opinions on what the trust should do in the future and what the way forward is, but I think we all agree there needs to be change. Stagnation's the word I keep using, but that's the reality of the situation. It's stagnated over the last few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Anyone who thinks it's some sort of attempted coup or threat, no, we just want a trust that's truly representative of the fan base. There's no hidden agenda or anything, so get yourself down, come and see us, and we'll try and report as best as we can on it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like I said, it'll be good to hear what people's views actually are, because I can only give anecdotal here from the chats we had down at Forest Green on Saturday. A few people.
There was a lot of interest, wasn't there?
Yeah, a lot of people talking about it, all in agreement that the trust has not done enough over the last decade to increase its membership, to raise money for the club, to do all kinds of things. It just plods along. And that's the worry.
One thing I will add is as well, we did receive correspondence from the trust board inviting ourselves to a face-to-face meeting, but it's not about us 12. We just happen to be the folks who put our head above the parapet and said, come on, let's do something. If there's to be a meeting, make it open. There's current members have been waiting months for a meeting. We don't take priority over them.
Yeah, definitely,
You know,
absolutely.
you know.
I know there's some members. We know there's some members are not overly happy that the fact that they might do something like that. They want them to talk to them as well. And like we said, there's a few people saying, "Oh, you've declined to meet them." I mean, if you want to be very technical in the very most technical sense of the word, I suppose we have. But in the sense that we haven't, because we said no, we're proposing an alternative and saying, well, the alternative is we actually come along and chat with us and we're all the new members. Or arrange an all members meeting or something like that. That's the best way to do it. Let's do it out in the open. Let's not have any secret.
We have nothing
meetings.
to hide. All transparent and
absolutely.
We'll have more next week after our get together and
definitely.
You'll see us at the away games with flyers. So come and say hello. We won't be wearing red carnations and Financial Times tucked under our arms and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well think.
You do like that on a midweek game, don't you?
I do, just for the Tuesday nights. For the Tuesday nights. Right, well, let's move on then, Dan. Take quite a while, the news section this week. Let's do the match review. So, Forest Green 3, Carl United 0. The unbeaten run is over. I mean, we said last week it was a reality check, but I mean, this was a different level to that, wasn't it? It was table toppers, Forest Green, showing exactly why they are runaway leaders in League Two and really putting in a commanding performance. I mean, United didn't actually even play that badly, to be fair. I mean, this is nowhere near the levels of the Northampton or Sutton away games in terms of performance, but we just lacked that quality that the hosts had in abundance, didn't we?
It reminded me a bit of ourselves in 94, 95, how we just used to pick teams apart when we wanted to. And, I mean, we went behind an unlucky goal. We had a great view of it, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to that in a sec. Well, let's talk about the little trip down then, Dan. Obviously, so we went down to the game because we both wanted to tick the ground off, basically. Neither of us had been, and first opportunity we both had to go, and you can't do it by train. For anyone doesn't know what it is, basically.
You can, but it's a bloody 7
trek.
mile from Stroud.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, the ground is in a town/village called Nailsworth. The nearest town with a train station is Stroud. Stroud's not exactly on the main line, is it either, really? It's I can't remember, which line would it be on? I'm not 100%. It's maybe the one that goes from like Cheltenham to Swindon or Oxford or somewhere like that, I think.
Yeah, it's all that
possibly.
Area.
It's not a main line, though, basically, is it, essentially? So, getting a train's really out of the question. So you got the train to Warrington, and I picked you up from there, because obviously I was driving down from Liverpool, and nice leisurely drive down we had. All good fun. There was obviously a bit of an accident, wasn't there, on the M5, which we were worried about, but that had cleared by the time we got there.
We were just finishing the clearing up by the time we passed. So.
So now we managed to get ourselves down in the end for about 1:15, and the journey it takes you off the M5 when you get there, there's two options. You can go the way that sort of takes you on the outskirts of Stroud and then down from a southward way into Nailsworth at the bottom of the hill, which the ground's on. Or you can take the country winding roadway that takes you to the top of the hill and brings you out where the ground is. We took the winding way, didn't we? Because Google Maps told us to go that way. And imagine basically if you were going to watch Carlisle away at Buttermere, basically, and driving down that road on the edge of Crummock. That's what it was like. And like passing places, basically if one car along, it had loads of passing places along the way. It was absolutely bizarre, wasn't it? Never been a game like it.
We were expected to turn into a farm at any point, weren't we?
It was just strange, wasn't it? But we got there in the end. Yeah, we got there, and we thought, well, let's park a good way down the hill. My God, fair play. Mike told us it was a big hill, and we thought it can't be that bad, can it? It was ridiculous, wasn't it? I think it's it's about a mile long from the bottom base.
Rises about 300. Was it feet or meters?
300 feet. Yeah. It goes up. It was horrendous, basically. So we parked a good 2/3 down the hill, so 1/3 up, basically. Went into the town, had a pint, saw a few people from the London branch, and a few of us had a chat with them about the old Unity 40 stuff, and we convinced a couple more people to sign up as well, actually, didn't we? Which was good to see. And then we looked at the buses, and quite ridiculously, the buses go at 5 past the hour. And Forest Green have got this weird policy now where they don't let away fans in at all, even when it's a small, like following of 200 or 300 into their the pubs at the ground anymore, do they?
No,
which is just stupid, really. So all the poor sods who were on the away travel bus had to, because the bus as well wasn't allowed to park at the ground. had to basically go into the town and walk up the hill or get a taxi or get a lift off the landlord at the pub, didn't they? It was, I mean, for all Dale Vince's, chiming on about Andrew Jenkins and not being allowed into the director's box because he was wearing a T-shirt and jeans and stuff like that, they don't exactly give a overly warm, friendly to away fans there, do they? Is it fair to say?
No, it's just a load of shite all set up. I'm not going to beat about the bush. They've got their eco vegan type thing. If that's the road they want to go down, fair play. We enjoyed our sausage and chips on the walk up to the ground.
We did.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had to stop by the car because we realised very quickly walking up the hill and eating chips at the same time wasn't a good combination.
No.
It took us a while to get up that hill because I think it was something like a 1 in 10 grading. It said at the top or something.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
It was bloody awful, that was. But anyway, we got to the top, got to the ground, well in time for kick-off. It's a tiny little ground, actually, isn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, it's neat enough. Two decent terraces behind the goal, the main stands, a bit like Rochdale sort of thing.
A little bit smaller, isn't it, I think, but yeah.
The side we're on, it looks like it has been just a terracing, but they've sort of put this little stand at one end
with
about
2 rows of seats.
2 rows of maybe 20 seats. So I suppose they're just ticking a box with it, aren't they?
And let me tell you now, that covered terracing is an absolute con for an extra £1, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It didn't even actually cover the terracing. It's just basically below where the seating bit is. What a joke.
But not a bad little ground.
Yeah, tiny little ground. I was quite impressed with it. The football itself, it's just not a good day, was it, really, at the races in terms of being outgunned, really, by a much better side. You mentioned the goals there, Dan, before. Start with the first one, the own goal.
Yeah, we had a cracking view of it. Feeney had to put something on it.
Yeah, basically.
Because their man was in if he never, but unfortunately, when he swung for it, he sliced it and it flew past Mark Howard, who didn't really have much chance, did he?
No, he didn't really. It's a hell of a ball in from Nicky Cadden, isn't it? He was putting balls like in that for fun in the first half, wasn't he? He was, and the thing is, Joel Senior wasn't doing much wrong.
That's Nicky Cadden, who I recommended we signed about 5 years ago, by the way.
And we're going to keep saying that forever and ever, aren't we? But yeah, I mean, Joel Senior didn't do much wrong, did he? To be fair, no. He didn't give him a huge amount of space, but he only needs a yard, and he just whips the ball in. Really, really great. Like I said to you, didn't I? He reminded me when we had Danny Granger, and he didn't have quite the pace maybe that Cadden's got, but his ability to whip in the ball was very similar, if not better, actually. Granger, to be fair. But yeah, like I said, didn't have much choice because Stevens was going to tap into the empty net if he didn't go for it, and it just the pace on it caught him out, really. So that's the way it is. But I mean, at that point, actually, we were sort of getting into the game. I mean, even after the goal, we looked lively. We had a few chances. But
well, we went in 1 down at half time, and we weren't out of it, were we?
No, we certainly weren't.
I mean, we would have had to have picked up to improve, but we weren't out of it. And just before they got the second, we were sort of saying, we need some subs here. We need to do something different.
Yeah, because the start of the second half, they came out flying again, didn't they? They were getting really on top, and I said to you, it's not sticking up front, and we'll come on to that again, sadly, in a minute. And you could just see it coming, and we went on it. We went on the attack and got caught out, and Forest Green got away on the counter attack, didn't they? And Jack Armour was caught probably a bit too far up the pitch, to be honest, especially as the ball came from the right wing as well. I'm not sure why he was so high up the pitch. I'd have to look back at the actual full game to have an idea, but Jake Young for them had an absolute acre of space down the right wing. Got into the box and maybe got a little bit easily past McDonald, but it's one of those ones that Armour's coming in at the same time. He's sort of trotting in, and I don't know if McDonald's thinking Armour's going to go for it, but they both just seem to almost like leave him, and he goes past them, and Guy slides in to try and block it, but Stevens gets the pass and buries it in the back of the net, and that's his 19th goal of the season for them, and that's the difference, isn't it? Really, they've got 2 strikers who can put the ball in the net, which brings us on nicely to goal number 3. The game was well and truly gone at this point, but quick bit of interplay on the edge of the box. I think Aitchinson played in Matt, who made pretty much no mistake, did he? Howard had no chance of stopping that shot that he hit really hard and low, and that was it. That was over. I mean, they were able to take Jamil Matt off 3 minutes after that because they knew the game was done and they didn't really have to waste any more energy on him. So, you felt a bit flat afterwards because you feel we've been playing really well and we've been getting results. But it was just a really good indicator of how far we've got to go, isn't it, really? I think it's fair to say. That's the thing. I mean, I put it a long way to go. I mean, in all senses of that phrase, it was a long way for us to go down and not bring anything back, but also just shows that we've got a long way to go before we reach the sort of level that Forest Green are at, which is sad because just over, pretty much 12 months ago, we were at that level. And look at us now. It shows the difference a year can make, really.
Yeah.
But there's no point in making it into a crisis, is there, really? We've been on a good run. We've come up against the best team in the league. I mean, both games we've seen this season, they've been the best team I've seen. And
there'll be better teams than us who'll get beat there this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk some of the talking points, Dan. You might have a couple more to add to these, but I feel bad because it feels like we're sort of picking on him each week, but I've got to say it again. Omotoy is just not getting up to speed yet. We sound a bit like a broken record, but another game goes by where he's failed to make a real impact and cannot fault the lad's work rate. You know, he works hard, but he's getting bullied by defenders far too easily. And I think he had his first shot in this game, but it was a pretty tame one, I think, that the keeper set. I think it might have been blocked, actually, by a defender. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell down the far end, but that's his sum total over the 4 games. He doesn't look like he's going to score goals. And he played it. It was a different formation this game, wasn't it? We played sort of 4-2-3-1 with Patrick sticking to the left and then Gibson and Dickinson sort of interchanged from the right to the attacking midfielder role, didn't they, I think? And Omotoy was a little bit isolated in that sense, but if you're going to play that role, you've got to show yourself capable of holding up the ball and bringing players into play, and he never really gave the impression he was going to do that. That was the problem.
Yeah, I'd rest him this week.
Yeah.
I'd look at mixing it up a little bit. I mean, Sam Fishburn came on, who we sort of said he's playing ahead of his time sort of thing. He's not ready. But I'd have more confidence in Fishburn than Omotoy, to be quite honest.
To be honest, for me...
I mean, that's not slagging Omotoy off, you know. He seems a nice lad, he's trying. But
we're not seeing it, are we? I mean, to be honest, I'd start Alessandra, personally. I think he's looked decent when he came on. He was unlucky not to actually score. He did really well to get on the end of a cross from the right, and he just sort of scooped it onto the roof of the net, didn't he? There's not much he could have done, really. But yeah, I can't see him starting at the weekend. I think I'd imagine Keith was probably hoping he would have got a striker in time for this weekend's game to...
I'd love us to get a striker in tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be before midday tomorrow, wouldn't it, I think, for them to be able to play. But I mean, to be fair, in sense of, we're not picking on him. He wasn't the only one who didn't really perform to the good enough level. I think Dickinson himself admitted, didn't he, he wasn't good enough and, you know, he needs to be a lot better than he was. And Guy was a bit quiet. It was interesting reading... You went on the fans forum after the game, didn't you? And we were listening to what they were saying before you were about to go on air, and a lot of people slagging off Mellish. The consensus around us generally was that Mellish did okay. and to be fair, he was one of the few actually offering us a bit of drive going forward. He wasn't perfect, but he offered something at the very least. But I still think I'd like to see him maybe playing a bit more further forward and up front again, maybe. And that's where his role really lies in the future. But there you go. Let's talk about one of your favourite points here then, Dan. Next, I've got subs and set pieces. Go on, do you want to talk about subs? Because I know it annoys you.
Yeah, it's just that we sort of, the consensus where we were stood and was like, if we're going to make changes, make them now while it's still 1-0. And, you know, we maybe won't get some, but at least we can have a go. And then the second went in, and then the subs came at 2-0. It's a hell of a different... You know, it's gone, hasn't it, really? Well,
we were actually even saying at half-time, weren't we, that maybe Omotoy for Alessandro wouldn't have been a bad move at that point to get the ball to stick a little bit more. That's what we thought. And then you could bring Fishburn on later on, maybe with like 20 minutes to go to really have a go at them.
I mean, Clough coming on was just literally to get 10 minutes into him, nothing else.
It must have been really.
Cause, you know, that was, yeah. poor Joe Riley. I mean, has he ran over Keith Millen's cat in the car park?
Yeah, he just doesn't seem. He seems very reluctant
Or
to
does he
change.
just not fancy him? Or, he's surely fit now. He's been on the bench for 2 or 3 games now.
He seems to. I don't know what it is. He just seems to want to stick with the midfield too, doesn't he? Of Guy and Mellish, or even Whelan as he's used before. And every fan's in agreement. Guy and Mellish just doesn't work as a midfield too. There's not enough in there really. There needs to be something else, and I'd like to see Riley play at the weekend. I don't think he will. To be honest, I think he'll probably stick with more or less what he's done and maybe tweak it in attack. But unless he maybe pushes Whelan back forward. In. Possibly. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the first sub was until 68 minutes. So 52 minutes is when we conceded the second goal. That's the point where he should have been making a change to try and freshen up quickly and get us going again. And it was a similar thing with Beach, too slow to make changes. I know, you're not going to make changes on 45 and 50 minutes every single week, because if you do that every week, you look a bit desperate. But in a situation like that, when you're behind, be proactive, make the change. Yeah. But
I know there was maybe also the thinking that, the game has gone at 2-0, hasn't it?
Possibly, but then if that's the case, get Clough on and get Riley on and get people like that on and get them minutes in their legs, because they've not got minutes in their legs right now if the game's gone at that point. You might as well. You might as well have a go, but there you go. The other point I've put, I mean, like I said, set pieces, just totally waste them again. It's really frustrating because actually Dickinson took a great corner against Crawley to set up the equaliser. He's taken a couple of good free quicks lately. The corners today, it just seemed to be a mishmash, and Guy seems to be taking them all, and nothing was really coming to them. And it's like he's desperately trying to play himself back into the form he had with corners last season. And maybe having someone like Simeo in the box might help us really, because he looks like a lad who can really get in there and ruffle a few attackers and defenders and go for headers. But it just feels to me like we don't really have a plan on them. I mean, that free kick just before half time, by the way, my word, that was. Yeah. If anyone, you probably won't have seen it because you'd have been listening, but basically we had a free kick on the left and good position basically for Dickinson to just whip one in, really, wasn't it? He didn't possibly even have a go at goal. And he peeled off. And then Guy went and played the pass to play him down the wing. And it was a combination, Dickinson being a little bit on his heels, but mostly just a dreadful pass by Guy. And he went straight out for a goal kick. Literally on the half-time break as well, and there could have been a chance to get us back in the game. And it
was literally one of them where the home crowd were like, "Whoa!" It was that bad.
You're embarrassed by, are you? But there you go.
A
few other points before we move on to the second half, Dan. As you mentioned there, Zach Clough returning from injury, not massive impact in his 10 minutes. Couple of niggly fouls given away, and then there was that one chance, actually, we did really well on the edge of the box. Beat 2 men. And then he just didn't take a shot, and we were screaming, just shoot. And he took another touch and got tackled. And it's like, that's where the issue is. There's confidence. Some of these players need confidence, don't they? A confident Zach Clough, at that point, doesn't take that extra touch, does he? He just hits it. But we're not seeing that. But there you go.
Never mind. Dust down, go again this week.
And bright performances. Joel Senior and Amari Patrick both played pretty well, didn't they? Senior, especially going forward, looks lively, and Patrick got away a few times, but just didn't have the option in the box. And you can see he's frustrated by it, couldn't you? So there you go. But yeah, like I said, dust ourselves down, get on to 2 games in a row, chance to get points back on the board and start moving up the table. And we'll be back to discuss the upcoming games against Sutton and Salford just after this break. We're back into part 2 of the show. Just a reminder, you can subscribe to the podcast on all good podcast apps, whether it's Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Acast. Just click subscribe, and every time a new episode comes out, it'll go straight into your podcast app. And you can also, if you can review us on any of those. I know Spotify do reviews now, so it'd be great if any. And I know a lot of our listeners are on Spotify, so if you want to give us a nice 5-star rating on Spotify, that would be lovely stuff. And again, you can follow us on social media at Brunton Bugle on Twitter. Search for the Brunton Bugle on Facebook. We're also on the Be Just Unfit Not Facebook group as well, and we're on the Cummins.net message board. And the email address, if you want to contact us that way, is bruntonbugle@gmail.com. As usual, the second half of the show this season has been sponsored by the Carlisle United Sports Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Carlisle United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore, and of course every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips, as well as arranging many social events and sports games, and also do a lot of fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section of this season too. You can find out more about London branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. And this week's pub of choice for the away game at Salford is the Friendship Inn on Scholes Lane in Prestwich. That's M25 OPD. I know for one thing this Salford game is going to be a bit of a nightmare because public transport is not great around the ground, is it? I think it's about half an hour walk from the nearest metro station or something like that.
Yeah,
railway is just a no-go, isn't it? I think basically. So
yeah.
So there you go. We haven't got any behind enemy lines bit this week. I just haven't had time to arrange and record it, I'm afraid. Just one of those weeks. So we'll hopefully have that back for the Rochdale away game. It'll be good to catch up on them.
We've never found a Salford fan yet anyway, have we? So.
We've really struggled. We had a Sutton fan at the start of the season. He was really good.
Yeah.
I think we did a full special on them, didn't we? Because we'd never played them before. But so we'll be catching up with a Rochdale fan at some point next week. I'm sure about that. I'll get that sorted. So let's get on to the games, Dan. First up, Sutton United this weekend. Referee for this game is Darren Handley from Lancashire. It's his 6th season as an EFL referee. It's an interesting one, though. I'll tell you why in a minute. He's taken charge of just 3 games so far this season, handing out 10 yellow cards and 1 red card. He didn't referee a single game in the 2021 season. He also, I think, missed possibly the 18-19 season too. So it's interesting. He just seems to have missed a couple of seasons. I don't know if he's had a couple of injuries or something like that, possibly, but you don't see that very often with referees, do you? I did double check to see whether he'd been like because you can find out if he's been a linesman at games as well, but no, he hasn't for some reason. So interesting one. The last game he took charge of for United was the thrilling 4-3 FA Cup third round replay defeat to Cardiff City in January 2020. That was the game where Harry McCurdy came on as a sub, didn't he? I think, and tore Cardiff apart for the best part of half an hour, something like that, wasn't it? I think. Did you go to that game? I didn't go to it. I remember listening to it on the radio.
Which game was that? Sorry, I was just Googling his name there while you were talking.
It was the Cardiff City FA Cup replay a couple of seasons
ago.
No,
I couldn't do that one. I couldn't do that one myself. So
yeah. I just remember being annoyed. Yeah. I felt it should have been a game that was on they always show replay live on TV, don't they? They didn't pick that one, which always wound me up, especially after how good a game it was in the end. And his assistants are Simon Clayton and Bradley Hall, and fourth official is Paul Newhouse. Head-to-head, we played them once and we've lost. Let's not talk about that game ever again. Last season, of course, they were the National League champions, promoted to the EFL for the first time. And this season, I don't think anyone saw this coming, did they, Dan? I think everyone thought they were going to struggle, but they're in 4th place on 44 points from 26 games.
Absolutely flying.
16 positions and 17 points ahead of United, which should really shame the United board when they look at that, because they've not made major changes to their squad either since coming up. They've added a few players here and there, but they've generally stuck with the players that got them up from the National League. Their manager is Matt Gray. He was appointed in April 2019. Not sure how long a contract length he's got. I think he had it extended when they got promoted. But weirdly, it's one of these things some clubs do now. They don't actually announce how long it is, which is very weird. Sutton was actually the first club he managed. He'd been assistant manager at Eastleigh and then also at Aldershot Town and Crawley Town in the Football League. You really can't underestimate what an incredible job he's done there, can you? At the South London club.
No, when they hammered us down there, I think that was a little bit of a turning point for them. They were sort of, yeah, we can do it, you know.
I mean, if they'd won by 8 or 9 that day, he wouldn't have flattered them in the slightest.
No, not at all.
They were streets ahead of us in the way they played. I remember going on the fans forum after the game, and I think that's probably the most annoyed I've been on the fans forum. That's it this season. It was dire. There was no game plan at all. It was just awful to watch. And like I said, they were fantastic. And I think he took over from club legend Paul Dowsall, like I said, about just over 3 years ago now, or just under 3 years ago, sorry. And I think he did a brilliant job, Dal Solanke, to get them up to the National League and keep them up there. And obviously that famous FA Cup tie against Arsenal, didn't they, with the goalkeeping coach eating the pie on the bench and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like the job he's done to professionalise them even further and get them into a league is terrific. And following up that title-winning campaign, potentially with a second promotion in a row, would be one hell of an achievement, really.
I think again, it just goes to show again that there isn't a gap between sort of top half of National League and League Two these days.
I think that
bottom half of National League, but
yeah,
there's certainly the top 12 or 14 teams.
Yeah, can give a lot of the League Two teams a good game, can't they? Last time out, they drew 0-0 against fellow promotion contenders Northampton Town at Gander Green Lane. That was despite the fact that they spent the last 10 minutes with just 10 men. Sorry, last 16 minutes with 10 men. In the form table, they currently sit fourth. I think one place ahead of United in the last 6 games form table. Record of drawn 1-1, drawn 1 drawn. So they're doing pretty well in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
Quick look through the squad, Dan. There's not a lot of games. Sorry, not a lot of names that shout out.
Craig Eastman to stand out.
Yeah, ex-Arsenal youth, isn't he? I think he was at Colchester for quite a bit as well. He's their captain.
His red card from last week has been overturned.
It has indeed, so that's good news for them, having the captain available. But I mean, Harry Beautyman, I think he's played a bit in the Football League as well. But
there's one or two. Bennett, obviously. But no, it's mainly a team that's come from non-league, and B, most of the players that came up with them. I did read an interview the other week. No, it was this week actually, before the pizza trophy. Saying that they didn't have much time because of how they came up and that they literally by the time they came up it was literally right, we've got this squad, we'll add a couple if we can and just see how we go and sort of assess ourselves in January. It's gone all right, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think getting the young striker they had on loan from Millwall last season, Isaac Olafeye, back on loan has been a big bonus as well because he was fantastic for them last season. I think he played a big part in them going up.
But a club like Sutton are superbly sort of situated for getting players from Charlton, Millwall, Palace. I mean, if they can get one player from each of those three, that's.
But he's the only player they've got on loan. To be fair, I'm looking through the squad. He's the only one they've got on loan. So shows you don't have to pack your squad with loan players. You can get some decent quality in there. I mean, you mentioned Richie Bennett there. I'd imagine Richie probably looked over the last couple of years and thought, well, my chances of playing in the Football League are probably quite limited for the rest of my career now. Might as well make it a good fist of it in the National League. He got let go by Stockport, and look where he's turned up at Sutton. And he's not played that much, but he's played a role. He's scored the odd goal here and there. So
he's always in the 18, isn't he? I think it's fair to say.
I think they often use him as a sub and throw him on late on, which he doesn't seem to.
Impact sub.
Yeah, and I always like Richie, to be honest. I think he's a player we never really got the best out of him, but I think he's a useful enough player when you need him, and he's done really well.
We've had plenty worse.
Absolutely, and there's times that even looking like this season, I looked at it and thought we could have done with someone like him to be able to throw on and cause a bit of nuisance in games and be a target man almost. I know he never really was a target man in that sense, was he? It's interesting because when we signed him from Barrow, he'd actually mostly played on the left of a front three at Barrow, hadn't he? He never played really down the middle for them. So we decided to use him as a sort of striker target man and never really worked out in that role. So it's a pretty solid squad, and like I said, all those players have stepped up and shown they're capable of playing a Football League level. Only with a little bit of interesting news about them I've got is that you won't want me to mention it, Dan, but they're one tie away from the Wembley final after reaching the semi-finals of the trophy we don't talk about.
Thing is, with a club like Sutton, they don't have the attachment to the trophy.
You know what? I was thinking this before actually as well. I think that these clubs that come up from the non-league, except maybe like even Hartlepool, they're in the semis as well, aren't they? They look at it and think, this is a chance to get to it. They don't really concern themselves about the politics of it as much, do they?
Hartlepool should know about it. But
They should.
certainly a Sutton or a Barrow type team who, having played in the trophy, it's just another tournament to them, and I do kind of get that a little bit. They're just playing in what they're told to play in, but you never catch me going.
No, certainly not me neither. Well, before we go on to talk about the Salford bit, let's talk about United, because this is the first game that we played, so we might as well talk about how United will line up and stuff like that for this game. In terms of injuries, obviously Kelvin Miller looks like he's going to be out for a while. We're still waiting for news on Gibby Touré's return to fitness. And as you said last week, wherefore art thou Lucas Jensen? I presume he's gone back. He must have done. Someone needs to ask someone about
Bloody
that.
announce it then.
I know, it's driving you mad.
Bloody hell.
It's driving you mad. Fishburne and Clough did return last weekend, though, so that's good news. 2 more bodies in the squad. In terms of who we mentioned before, out on loan 4 players. Abrahams, Charters, Bell and Dixon. I think only really Abrahams and Charters were really challenging the first team squad, weren't they, anyway? So, but it does make the squad start to look a bit thinner. I think the only player who's sort of missing out at the moment is Mampala, maybe, of the current 18, possibly. Obviously, I think it'll be different now with Simeo coming in, but yeah.
It wouldn't be a surprise if Mampala went, would it?
No, not really, to be honest. He's not challenging for a first team place, and he's one of those ones. I know a lot of people seem to get excited about him in pre-season. It just struck me as one of those ones you're going to sign him, he'll be gone in 12 months. But there you go. You take gambles, don't you, I suppose?
A Sami Anabi.
Yes, free Sami Anabi, as the chant went. In terms of the starting lineup, you'd imagine Simi is going to come in probably. I'd imagine Morgan Feeney might be the unlucky one to drop out.
Which I think's a little bit unlucky on Feeney.
It's unlucky, but his form's dropped a tiny bit last few games.
People say he scored an own goal and he was at fault for the goal against Thingy.
Probably, yeah.
But
just bad luck sometimes, isn't it? Sometimes that'll happen. It might be McDonald. You never know. We'll have to wait and see what happens at the weekend. Got to be a change up front though as well, hasn't there? Surely they've got to freshen that up a little bit. What would you do?
I would go 4-3-3.
Okay. Try and get the best out of Gibson, Patrick. Yeah.
I would play Patrick and Gibson as the wide men in the three. That leaves a problem. I'd probably start Alessandra.
Yeah, I'd start Alessandra on the middle, definitely.
And
I think he links
and
it well.
hope that he could bring in Patrick and Gibson, because they both like to come in,
Yeah. But then what you can do, you can get John Mellish playing a similar role to what he did last season.
Well, you could have Mellish running about in front of either Guy and Riley or Guy and Whelan, couldn't you?
Well, because Alessandro likes to drop deep anyway, doesn't he? So that gives Mellish a bit more freedom to push forward. And like I said, I'd put Guy and Riley in there. I know you probably put Guy and Whelan, but I'd put Guy and Riley. Try and recapture a little bit of last season, maybe. But yeah, I feel like there needs to be some. I think that your defence and keeper, there's no major issues there at the moment. But midfield and attack does need a bit of a freshening up, I think it's fair to say. Okay then, Dan, I was going to say we'll go into the predictions, but actually let's go into the Salford one. We'll do the predictions together, because I imagine Mike sent his in one go. I did ask for both this time, so with any luck he's actually remembered to predict both games rather than just one, as he did the other time. So this is our first visit as fans to Moor Lane, aka the Peninsula Stadium, for United play Salford City on Tuesday the 1st of February. Referee for this game, Simon Mather from Greater Manchester. It's his first season as an EFL referee.
Hang on. Greater Manchester referee at Salford.
Well, he's a Manchester FA referee. I'm presuming that counts Salford as well, I'm guessing. But I suppose it can't be helped. He's going to have to referee at some point. He's taken charge of 19 games so far this season, handing out 82 yellow cards and 7 red cards.
For a game and a red card every 1 in 3, roughly.
Yeah.
That's some going.
And his guess what the last game he took charge of for United
I've
was?
just looked. Sutton United.
Sutton United away, 4-0 defeat, where he sent off Manny Mampala. He was right to send him off, to be fair. It was not a good challenge, that one, from what I remember.
No.
But yes, that's an interesting one. He's very card happy, so probably be good to put in a disciplined performance in this game, I think it's fair to say. But hey, we'll be backed by 1,100 Blues fans, and they're only getting crowds of 1,300 for games like this, aren't they? So pretty much half the crowd's going to be United supporters, and with any luck, they'll be cheering them on to a victory at the end of the evening. Head-to-head record, we've only played them 4 times. 1-2, drawn 2. That'll do me just fine. Let's keep it that way, eh? Let's keep it with 0 in the Salford column. Last season, they finished 8th in League Two, missing out on a playoff place by 2 points. Their current position, 9th on 37 points. They're 11 positions and 10 points ahead.
So inconsistent, aren't they?
Having played a game more. They are. I mean, the start of the season, they were awful. I mean, it genuinely looked like they were going to get dragged into a relegation battle at one point, didn't it? There was real concerns for them. I think that, they'd probably cut back too much because obviously they spent quite a bit in the last few seasons, didn't they? And it didn't work, and they've gone down a slightly different path. I'm not saying they're doing it on the cheap, but not as quite as extravagant as it's been in previous years. But it seems to settle down a little bit recently. The man at the helm is Gary Bowyer. It's weird, this one. He was originally appointed in March 2021 on a loan deal, effectively, from Derby County. They didn't pay a transfer or like a compensation thing to Derby for him to come in, but they agreed to cover his wages for that time, basically till the end of the season for like 2 months after Richie Wellens was sacked. He then returned to Derby on the 10th of May, only 2 days later to be reappointed as manager of Salford City. The rumour was that they actually were trying to get Mickey Mellon in as manager, is what I heard. And Tranmere nipped in and got him back first. Yeah. Which looks a brilliant bit of business by Tranmere now. They're flying this season. Their defensive record's outrageous, isn't it?
I know.
Incredible. But he signed a 2-year deal with them, so he's under contract until the summer of 2023. He's quite a sort of solid manager for this level, isn't he, really? Bit of success with Blackpool. Did okay at Bradford. Blackburn Rovers is one where he was thrown into the deep end there, wasn't he? Having been under 23 coach, and did a good job to stabilise them in the Championship, didn't he, while he was gaffer at Ewood Park?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's one of those ones you look and you think it's a fairly sensible appointment after the disaster that was Richie Wellens. I don't know if you've seen the Class of 92 update, the most recent one.
No, I haven't seen the most recent.
I've seen bits of it. Richie Wellens doesn't come across very well in it. You'll be surprised. One of those ones you watch and you think, he's not getting a job in football for a while after this, probably. Yeah. But there you go. But yeah, bit of pedigree at this level. He won the playoffs with Blackpool in 2017. That brings back bad memories, doesn't it? Of us failing in the playoffs that season. But there you go. Last time out, 2-0 win at struggling Barrow, which you'll be pleased to hear, Dan. In midweek, thanks to goals from Ashley Hunter.
I watched the highlights of this game. Wasn't much of a game.
No, I'm guessing.
Two bad teams, I thought. Yeah,
Ashley Hunter scored the opener, and the second was a Romeo Hutton own goal. In the form table, they sit 10th in the last 6 games with a record of 1 drawn, lost, 1 lost, 1. Interesting that loss before the Bradford game was a 3-0 defeat at Colchester.
At home to Colchester.
Yeah. Sorry, at home to Colchester, even worse,
which is what I mean about they're just so inconsistent. They'll do that. They'll lose at home, then they'll go and win away. If there's not many people follow them at home and away. I mean, they only had 50 odd at Barrow the other night, but Christ, it must be frustrating watching them.
Oh, definitely. I mean, let's talk about the squad then, Dan. I mean, looking through it, I mean, in the summer they lost. What's the name of the lad? I went to Ipswich Town, the goalkeeper. Kaladi, something like that. Kaladi.
Yeah.
I can't remember his call. The Czech goalkeeper basically went to Ipswich, who is barely featured at Ipswich actually, from what I can gather. Replaced him with Tom King from Newport. He's not one I've been overly impressed with, to be honest. It's a solid enough keeper at our level, but not one that would I would have been like, oh, I'm so glad we've signed him if we signed him. Basically. Yeah. Famously scored a goal though, didn't he, for Newport against Cheltenham with a long kick from his goal. The backup keeper's a young lad from Altrincham who's not even played a first team game for Salford yet, so not a massive amount of cover in that area. Some other interesting players in there though, Dan. I mean, Ashley Eastham, an ex-Blue, features occasionally in the Exile section.
One game wonder, wasn't he?
He was, but he's made a decent career of it since then, hasn't he?
Yeah. Ibu Toure, being on international duty with Gambia.
Well, he's playing in the AFCON quarterfinals this weekend against the hosts, Cameroon, as well. So, obviously, if they lose that game, he'll be coming back and probably be able to feature in in the match.
I would imagine it'll depend on when they fly home, and that it'll be 50-50, won't it?
Well, and I'm sure I've seen some other player in the last week or so, I think in the Premier League at least, definitely, basically like 2 or 3 days after they got knocked out, was playing in a league fixture. So
Yeah.
I suppose it's one of those ones in the current climate, they just want to get players back as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
don't they, really? Yeah, he could play. Donald Love's one who was at Man United a few years ago, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Just looking through here.
Matty Willock's
Callum's brother, isn't it?
the lesser of the Willock lads, isn't he?
He was at Man United for a bit, I think,
There's
possibly.
3 of them, isn't there?
Yeah,
There's Joe, who's at Newcastle.
Joe's
who's at
Newcastle.
Arsenal.
Callum's at Gillingham, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
And obviously Matty's the one at Salford. So
Yeah.
'cause I think they've been at Man United and Arsenal, the two of them. I think Callum was at Man United, possibly, or was it Matty? One of the two, anyway.
Josh Morris, former loanee.
Yeah, he's had a good career out of himself as well recently. In
You
attack,
know, the attack, they are quite strong up front. You know, Hunter, McAleary, Henderson is not doing as much now, is he?
no, I mean is he nearly 40 now? Possibly, I can't know how old he is. He's getting on, certainly. Some interesting signings in the transfer window already, though, Dan. I mean,
Matt Smith's a good deal.
I mean, first of all, you look at that and you think that they're clearly splashing some money there, because there's no way he's dropping to League Two from Millwall.
Yeah,
He's still been playing the odd game here and there for peanuts, is he?
No.
Which is baffling, because you look at it, they get crowds of 1,500, and they're not expensive tickets either. Which, full credit to them, but they're not exactly bringing in money, are they? So they're clearly being bankrolled to quite an extent, and it's not the class of '92 who are really bankrolling, are they? They're more like the PR image side of it, really. It's the lad who he owns Valencia, wasn't he? Peter Lim, I think.
Yeah,
he puts a bit of money in.
Very rich man.
Very rich man indeed. So Matt Smith's an interesting one. Stephen Kelly's one that we were linked with, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it was maybe just our name was put in there, as it often is with players from north of the border, given our location.
Yeah, so he's on loan from the Rangers.
Yeah,
and
Ryan Watson from Tranmere.
Yeah, interesting one. He
was Northampton, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, you're right there. So that's interesting. But like I said, Conor McAlary, as you mentioned before, as well, another player in the squad that I really like as well. And there's still quality there, even though they have sort of stripped it back a little bit. They've still got quality in attack, especially.
I do think they'll sneak into the playoffs. I think they'll bring a couple more in.
Yeah, I think they've got enough quality, and they've got that little bit of momentum, even with the odd duff result here and there. It's the reason why they won't challenge top 3, but they'll sneak in, because you can. There's always one or two teams that sort of drop off from the playoffs, aren't they? And bold prediction here, I think Swindon might be one of the teams that drop off, because they've just lost Tyree Simpson, haven't they?
Yes,
he's gone back to where was he on loan from? Ipswich, somewhere like that, I think.
It wouldn't be a surprise to see someone come in for old Harry.
Possibly, yeah. He's on an extended deal now, isn't he? But yes, I think Simpson's gone out on loan to someone else now instead. So, So they've lost one there. Possibly that might hit them a little bit. It always seems to happen, doesn't it? Well, we know it happens, because we saw it last season, didn't we? It can go tits up quite quickly. Potentially our first and last ever visit with fans to Moor Lane, isn't it? We've discussed this before, but it looks like they're going to move at the end of the season and do a swap deal on grounds with the Rugby League side. So anyone who's ever been down to the Trafford Centre for a bit of shopping on the M60, the motorway ring road around Manchester, they'll have probably spotted the AJ Bell Stadium, won't they? It's hard to miss. It's a good 10,000-12,000 seat, I think, something like that, right by the motorway.
I don't know why Salford need it.
Well, it's a weird one. I think they're looking at it and thinking, one of the problems at the moment is that with Salford, it's not close to public transport, but at the same time, there's not many options in terms of parking, is there?
No.
And Salford's a big city and spread off over quite a big area. So actually having a ground where you could drive to it and park up probably help them a little bit, maybe, to increase the crowd slightly. But, I mean, the Rugby League side have struggled to fill it, haven't they? So,
you know something? I've never been to the Trafford Centre.
Have you never been to the Trafford Centre?
Never been to the Trafford Centre. No.
I've only been a couple of times, to be fair, but
Metro Centre loyal.
Of course. Well, no, most people in Cumbria probably be the same, won't they? Because it's easy to get to. But yeah, there you go. So that's Salford City. Be an interesting one to see how it goes, won't it? Really, it's a It'd be good to have a nice big following there as well, especially. I always enjoy that with Carl Holloway, don't you? Right, let's do predictions then, Dan. Let's get yours first for both games.
I want to go for a 2-1 win over Sutton, with goals from Gibson's, due a little return to form, and Alessandra.
Yeah.
And then Salford, I think, reeks of a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a late equaliser in the 87th minute, and the away end will go bananas, and it will be scored by John Mellish.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go... I was going to go the other way around, but I think I'm going to go similar. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win over Sutton. And I think there'll be goals from Alessandra and Patrick for that one. And then I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw with Salford, with goals from Mellish. And like you, I think I'm going to have a late equaliser, but I think it's going to be Dinell Simiu. I think he's going to leap for a corner
hero. And
just, barge it in and just be celebrating with the away fans.
Instant cult hero.
If Simiu scores, we're on the pitch. That's what the chance will be. And he'll score, and there'll be a pitch invasion. You've heard it here first. And if it happens, it's not my fault. Let me not take the blame for that right now, because I know the club aren't happy with those things. But right, let's have Mike's predictions then.
So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw against Sutton, with Mellish getting our goal. And I'm going to go for a 2-0 win against Salford, with Zach Clough and Jordan Gibson getting our goals.
Very bold to think the Clough's going to play in the game, to be fair. Interesting to see if that happens. So he's gone for a 2-0 win at Salford. Very confident. You know what? If you put all our predictions together at the end of the season and look what the table would have been, we'd be runaway leaders in League Two, wouldn't we?
Well, we're never going to say we're going to get beat, are we?
I think I've done it once this season, possibly.
Yeah.
I think for a game. I think it might have been the Forest Green game. Actually, I think I predicted us to lose that one. But yeah, there you go. Right, let's get on to the X-Files section, Dan. Quite a busy one actually, in terms of, especially in transfers this week, isn't it?
Yeah. Goals and cards first. Tom Lawrence scored a late penalty in Derby's 2-1 East Midlands Derby loss at Forest. He's also been linked with Newcastle at the moment.
Interesting, not a bad cheap option, is it? Really, if you can get him for £1 million or something, he'd do a job till the end of the season.
Cole Stockton scored the winner. Morecambe's 3-2 win over Wickham. He's now the second top scorer in League One, behind Sunderland's Ross Stewart on 17 goals.
It's incredible, that, isn't it? Really, fair play to the lad. The way he's turned his career around since he left us since he left Tranmere for the second time, is something else, isn't it? Really, incredible.
Jack Marriott scored in Peterborough's 2-2 draw at Birmingham. I think that was his first game after a long injury. Andy Cook scored a late winning pen for Bradford in 2-1 victory at his former club Walsall.
Did you see the videos from that?
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I think when he was defending a corner in the first half, all the Walsall fans are singing "You fat bastard" basically at him. And then they started trying to do the same when he stepped up to take the penalty, just smashed it down the middle, and then he's basically right up to them, giving him the old shush, wasn't it? Brilliant stuff.
Bit of Scottish Cup action. Callum Higginbottom, extra time winner. Kelty Hearts 1-0 giant killing over SPL and current Scottish Cup holders St Johnstone. And if you want a good laugh, there's videos of the St Johnstone fans. Obviously, Kelty's not the best of grounds. They have to walk back to the dressing room, literally through the terrace, and the pelters are getting is absolutely off the scale.
It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? There's no way the place should have to walk through that, really. It's an insane setup, that, isn't it?
I think the manager wanted them to be quite honest.
Probably,
staying in the Scottish Cup, Matty Douglas, former YTS lad at Carlisle, scored in Annan's incredible 4-3 win over Clydebank. And their reward is the 4th round tie at home to Rangers.
Sorry, I was going to say, Dan, I was looking at when I wanted, because I had to check who the goals were against when I was typing this up. His goal was only in normal time, wasn't it? But they scored an equaliser in extra time, didn't they, on I think 117 or 118 minutes. And the winner 3 minutes later, 123 minutes. Incredible.
And that Annan game's just been announced as the Saturday evening TV game, so good money spinner for Annan.
Excellent.
And just into National League North, George Waring scored in Chester's 4-3 defeat at Curzon Ashton. But it's transfers, this week. Mark Ellis has joined Solihull on loan from Barrow, went straight into their team, and they got a win, I think, the other day.
He's a good, solid National League defender, isn't he? That's the thing with that, Mark.
He's exactly what Barrow probably need at the moment.
It's a strange move, isn't it? Cooper seems to be losing the plot a bit there, doesn't he?
Brad Young has been linked with moves to Port Vale, Swindon, Mansfield and Northampton.
This is weird. This is not a diss on the lad, because I think the lad's got ability
Villa
to do well.
this a bit, though, because they did it with the lad who was at Swindon. The right back, he got called back, and I think they were going to send him somewhere else as well.
But just for me, surely they must have looked how he did with us and thought maybe he needs to drop down a little bit lower to get a bit more game time. But there you go.
Josh Galloway, a bit of a fall here. He went to FC United of Manchester on loan till the end of the season, and he was actually announced as he came on as sub in the second half that this move had happened.
Here's a advice to any youngsters in our squad. Don't listen to your dad if he advises you where to go. Because that's where the problem arrives here, didn't it? It's one of those ones. With Liam McCarron, you always understood it because he'd played his 20 games, hadn't he? And he impressed and they clearly saw something in him. He'd never played a first-team game. He'd played like 2 first-team appearances in pre-season. And the thing is, he was already being hawked about before he even played in those games. So,
former loanee Regan Slater has signed for Hull today on a permanent deal from Sheffield United. He was there on loan previously, so it's no surprise. Adam Clayton got released by Birmingham last month. He's signed for Doncaster for 18 months. That's a decent pick-up for them. And then the random one, Connor Simpson has signed for Welsh Premier Division champions Cornicky Nomads after a spell with Icelandic side Cordrenga. And he will form a little and large duo with former Carlisle player Craig Curran.
I'm not sure how much Curran plays up front these days, possibly. I mean, he might play a little bit deeper, possibly. But yeah, it's nice to hear both names, really, isn't it? It's a lovely bit of stuff there. So there you go. That's this week's episode done, isn't it? It's been a slog, this episode. I'll let you all in behind the scenes here, but we've had some technical problems, to say the least. We've had to stop. You won't be able to work out because of my seamless editing, but we had to stop and start the episode again.
Especially at the start. But, we persevere. We push on.
Indeed.
We go again.
We
sound cliched there, don't we?
Yeah, very Brendan Rodgers, isn't it? Thanks once again to our sponsor, the London branch, for their support this season. Just a quick reminder again, if you're still listening, to pop down to the rugby club at 1:30 on Saturday before the Sutton game. Come and have a chat with all of us about the Unit of 40 stuff, and joining the kiosk and talk about what you want to see from kiosk in the future. That's the key thing. And what's been your issues in the past? What do they need to do to convince you, basically? Because there's no doubting. I think there's a will there to do something, but we need to work out why and how we do it. So there you go. In terms of the next episode, obviously we'll have Rochdale next week. We'll do Rochdale
and Port Vale, won't it?
It will be, yes, indeed. So
busy couple of weeks.
It's a very busy couple of weeks, isn't it? So and then we obviously got Colchester away, which is a big game in a sense because they're around us, and you don't really want to lose a game like that. So tough run of games, but hopefully we'll come out the other end of it with some decent number of points on the board.
Yeah.
Dan, thanks once again for joining me, and thanks everyone for listening. Up the Blues.
Up the Blues.